we talked about Genie 3 yesterday. I wanted to noodle on it more. So Genie 3, if you're not familiar, is a new frontier world model from Google. And we played around it with a little bit yesterday. We saw some demo videos. We don't have access, right, Tyler?
No, like no one has access. Just like engineers.
Yeah. So this is at what, like this is Bard tier software. We never got access to Bard, and then Gemini was the consumer application.
Yeah.
And then there was Palm too. Palm was their big multi-billion parameter large language model that Google did not release to the public, but they started writing papers about. And even the Transformer paper, that was just an architecture. There was no product associated with it. It wasn't until February or March of 2023 that Google came out with their first consumer chatbot for public consumption, correct?
Yeah, I think it's mainly, there's probably a bunch of like safety stuff they got to figure out. Especially Google, they're pretty safe about that kind of stuff.
That's a good point. That's what I want to debate today. So, interestingly, Google creates the Transformer. They create Palm, they create Bard. They have all of these incredible AI researchers, DeepMind's fantastic research lab. They're scaling up large language models, transformer-based large language models. They are on the correct path in the tech tree, and yet they don't release the consumer product fast enough. ChatGPT releases in, I believe, November. I think it was November 30th of 2022, maybe December 1st. So you can think about it at the beginning of December 2022. Google takes 3 months to respond. They respond with a product that's pretty close. And yet consumer adoption is power law distributed, and ChatGPT has been the runaway success in consumer. And so the lesson there is you got to be first. If you have the technology, you got to get it out in the public, even if it's messy. And I mean, maybe this is apocryphal, maybe this is like the wrong way to frame it, but like there is a story out there that people are telling in the media, in books, that basically says Sam Altman got fired because he launched ChatGPT, right? They say the board, he didn't go to the board. He didn't go to the board and say, hey, I want to launch ChatGPT. He didn't tell the board he was launching ChatGPT.
I want to make a consumer SaaS product.
Yeah, I want to make the next consumer internet company. I want to make something that makes $1 billion a month. Is that okay, guys?
I want to launch an app.
I want to launch an app. Is that okay? That's basically
You're not
what they
fire
do.
Me, right?
So yeah, not a fan of the board here. But the interesting point is that move fast, break things mentality. Like when ChatGPT launched, people forget how bad the first version was because, I mean, it was amazing. It passed the Turing test, but it was built on ChatGPT, or it was built on GPT 3.5 002 DaVinci, right? And so the model was hallucinating constantly. It had no access to tools. It had this crazy knowledge cutoff, so you couldn't ask it anything about the last 6 months or what's going on today. It was like pretty useless. It was magical and it was useful for some things, but for like 99% of prompts that we hit ChatGPT with today, they would completely flop on the V1 of ChatGPT.
Yeah, and I remember when it launched, there had been a bunch of companies that had been building on GPT, doing like text generation for different use cases. There were a number of companies that were generating text for marketing assets or emails or things like that, or essays. And those companies had absolutely ripped. They had insane revenue ramps. And when ChatGPT launched, there were still some people that thought, oh, you're still going to be able to build a business here around just like generating text for like niche use cases.
Yeah.
And then like a month or two in, it was very clear that like all those companies had gone ramped and then like basically, right back to where they started.
Totally. I mean, I talked to a YouTuber at the time, someone with like, I think many millions of followers in the true crime horror genre, and his whole channel was designed around finding an interesting case or crime and then telling the story.
An interesting crime.
Yeah, I mean, it's a true crime podcast. We saw Odd Lots, like true crime podcasts are the number one and the number two biggest podcast in the world right now, above Joe Rogan, at least in the charts. And so the true crime, it's all about storytelling. It's all about just writing, getting the facts together, assembling them into a script that makes sense on YouTube. This guy, he's not He's not like the most insane writer. He's just like somebody who figured out how to write for YouTube and do the video production, and he has a good voice for it. He's a great voice for it, actually, and he has good lighting, and he does all this great stuff to make the stuff work really well. He's good with thumbnails and titles, and so he'd grown to the point where he could just put up a 1 million view video like every day. And he was like, I'm going to use ChatGPT to write all my scripts. And he did that for like a week, and then he just completely quit doing YouTube videos entirely and switched to an interview show.
Crazy.
This is the guy who interviewed Andrew Tate. He interviewed a bunch of people, but there's a couple like super viral like clips of like hustlepreneurs that he's the other guy interviewing them. He's the reason that like this clip exists on the internet. He's a really nice guy, but. It was just funny because he went like so hard into this and the product wasn't there yet. And now maybe it is, but still people still can tell the flavor of text written from GPT 4.5 even. But at the same time, the actual use case was information retrieval, transformation of information, translation, all the things that we use ChatGPT for 30 minutes a day. I'm not telling it, write me a novel. I want to read a great novel. But I am saying, pull all this data from the internet and from all your resources and put it together in a table, teach me this thing. It's super helpful for knowledge retrieval. And when you look at Fiji Simo's 5 things that ChatGPT is going to focus on, like writing new books was not one of them. And I think that's by design because that's not where the models excel. Yeah. We're in this age of spiky intelligence. And so you want to let the models cook on what they're good at. And they're good at knowledge retrieval, and they're good at, hey, my knee hurts. Here's some symptoms. Let's go look up. It's another knowledge retrieval task. And they're also good at just chatting back and forth, having a conversation. And that's the therapy angle.
Yeah.
But my question is, Genie 3, Google is clearly at the very front of this from a research perspective.
Yep.
And so it's super high fidelity. It looks HD. It's rendering at 20 to 24 frames per second. You can prompt it. It seems super fun. There's this world memory. They've clearly gotten a number of fundamental improvements. Like, you watch what has happened in the LLM world with adding reinforcement learning, adding memory, adding tool use, and a web browser and a Python REPL and a bunch of other tools that have made it great. Clearly, in this Genie 3 model, there's a bunch of those tools. Like, they figured out how to do memory. It's probably not just one simple algorithm. It's a bunch of things working together. They're crushing it. DeepMind is doing what they do best. They've done the research and they've created something awesome. The question is,
what are they going to do with it?
They can't get in the ChatGPT world again. They can't let another lab do the same research and then productize it first and then be playing catch up. So 3 months is enough to lose the race in the chat world.
Yeah, I think one question I have
is
this the kind of tool that's sort of like a Google Earth that I remember as a kid discovering Google Earth and realizing that you could just explore the real world from your computer, and it was this like magical experience. And I definitely spent a bunch of time just like going around, bopping around different places, being like, I'm going to drop into this continent, I'm going to drop into this city. And that was really cool. I think the question with Genie 3 is like, is this something that people are just going to be prompting themselves, generating worlds? Is this the kind of thing that video games will adapt and build on top of? Is it more of a developer focused product? Unclear so far. We should probably have Logan on the show to break it down because I think there's a lot of people, game developers specifically, that would look at this and realize just the incredible potential of this if you can integrate some type of game engine into this and rules. It's totally wild.
Be doing design?
Can you imagine? I mean, it's an interesting thing. When you think of like first-person shooter games, when I think of my memories playing those games, there's like a few key maps and a few key games that were just like iconic and like people loved playing in those maps. And I think the interesting thing is when you have infinite optionality, you can imagine a world in the future where Call of Duty lets you just prompt battlefields, different kind of arena settings for different gameplay. But it'll be interesting if people still gravitate towards certain maps just because it's fun to have consistency with certain games.
Completely agree. There will definitely be a power law, and the only way to actually realize that power law and find out what's at the long tail of that power law is to get it in the hands of millions of people. And that's the same thing that happened with ChatGPT. And so beautiful website, by the way. I wonder if they designed it in Figma. Think bigger, build faster. Figma helps design and development teams build great products together. Get started for free. So my point is that I agree with everything you're saying. Is this going to be just like this meditative hangout space? Will it be something that people put on in the background and then they're studying? Or will they be, maybe people will be using this as a development tool to then go and hard code a new video game, or they'll use it as an exploration canvas in the same way that people use, a lot of people use generative imagery as, I was listening to a talk about this where someone was like, if you're an artist, you probably can't just turn in a prompt as your final work, but you're going to be on Behance and you're going to be on. There's a bunch of these services that like
Midjourney now.
Yeah, you're going to be on. Before you would like scroll Instagram for references, and you would put that into a mood board, and you'd be like, okay, this is the brand that we're going for. Now we're going to create our own, and it's not going to be derivative of any one thing. Like if you look at like. I don't know if we ever actually did a mood board for TBPN, but you could imagine there's like, there's the hardwood aesthetic, the mahogany, the official wood of business.
Yep.
Then there's some racing livery. There's the green that you really liked, that you were like, let's do green, and that was great. And then there's, a little bit of sci-fi. There's a gong for some reason. You mix all these up, and all of a sudden, we're not just doing a racing team shtick. It's like racing team plus gong plus hardwood plus all these different things, suits, and you add all that up and you get something new. And people used to do that just by pulling imagery on Pinterest and Instagram and Behance, and Arena was one of them, I think. And now people use generative art to do that, and you can see that happening there. But the main thing is that like there's zero chance that we figure that out in the lab. I think you can only figure it out by actually getting it into the consumer's hands and being very responsive to it. But yes, there's safety concerns, but this is a game where the most risk-taking person, the most founder mode company wins. Yep. And that's exactly what happened to ChatGPT. There were huge
two use cases for Genie that I'm interested, I would be interested in playing around with. One is like a voice prompting functionality where you can just be sitting with the screen and just be live prompting.
Like no hands on the keyboard.
No hands on the keyboard.
That's
you're just sitting there and you're saying, a dolphin just skateboarded by, and a dolphin is going to skateboard by, right? Then you're like, oh, it's like, and there's a LaFerrari that has wings, and it's like taking off into the sky, right? So you're just like giving people the ability to like have this almost like lucid dream, effectively. And then what was the other thing I was thinking? Blanking. Tyler, did you have a thought?
Yeah, I mean, I think obviously it's like super cool as a consumer use case. Like I want to play with it, but I mean, I think you could definitely make the case that the main value of this is it being used as training data for like robotics. Like if you train a humanoid robot off this, that's like, everyone says like the main issue, like why don't we have humanoids yet? Because it's a data problem. We don't have like insane videos of first person like doing every single task, right?
I wonder, I mean, I don't know enough about it, but you'd think that you'd be able to generate endless procedural worlds with just traditional game development pipelines, Unreal Engine, Houdini. You can define, endless corridors. Like there's that game No Man's Sky. Have you heard of that? It's like every single planet you go to is procedurally generated. There's an unlimited canvas. And so you'd think you'd be able to walk around with that and then just do some style transfer on top of it to get to something that is trainable, but maybe this is better. I don't know. We need to talk to some robotics people to see if this is actually like a major breakthrough.
We talked with the team from Physical Intelligence, and they said they have effectively, they're like generating a bunch of live real world data. The question is, how valuable is this synthetic
Waymo,
data?
Tesla, and Cruise all had very serious simulation teams that were developing. They would go and map the world, take all the pictures, reconstitute that into essentially a video game, and then the cars could virtually drive around. And then they did have the trouble of like, they kind of needed hallucinations, because the first time that like, it wasn't just like a dog running out and thing, but like what happens, how much training data is there on like a cow going in the middle of the road? Like that happens like 1 in 100 billion vehicle miles traveled. So you could have like petabytes of data of cars mapping the road, and maybe the big Tesla data set has like one image of it, and so you can train on it. But in a simulation, you're going to get a lot more crazy hallucinations, and then that might be valuable.
Yeah.
I guess my point, Tyler, is that like you're describing like the B2B use case, and I think that there might be a consumer use case.
Here's the consumer use case.
And the consumer use case will be more monopolistic. So yes, like OpenAI and Anthropic are duking it out in B2B, right? And it looks like that will be a lot less winner take all than chat. Like consumer chat, like the interface, the new consumer company with all the aggregation that ChatGPT has is going to be incredibly valuable. And then all the hyperscalers will have a frontier model that they can sell at somewhat competitive rates, and they'll make a lot of money and they'll do great. And it's a big new market, so that could happen here. The thing is that if they start selling this to robotics training companies, what's stopping someone else from training a similar model and then selling it to another robotics company? It becomes more oligopolistic, I would think.
Yeah. Well, isn't it like, okay, if you're super AGI pilled, then
as you are,
then like consumer doesn't matter as much because they're not doing as like economically valuable things as B2B would, right?
Okay.
So in that case, then B2B is like way more important, even if it's not like as monopolistic.
I don't know, Tyler. So much of the economy is raw consumption. It's the will of the American.
Does consumer matter in an AGI?
So here's
world?
the other use case I was thinking.
Yeah.
I think it'd be cool if you could upload some images and some video and like recreate a scene that you were in. So think about like your oldest like first birthday. If you could take like 3 images from that like celebration, like cutting the cake or whatever, and just like drop it into Genie and just like recreate the scene and be able to just like witness it again.
Yep.
In like virtual reality, that would be an absolutely wild experience. And I think a lot of people would do that when just reminiscing on.
And that feels entertaining and important, whether or not I have a job. Like if the robots take all the jobs in this ASI future, I still want something to do with my time, right? So like, why not go hang out in Genie 3? Tyler?
That's like pretty blackpilling, right?
Why?
Just like wireheading all the time. If everyone lives in the simulation,
you don't need to be wireheading. You can just watch a movie. Like, is that wireheading? You have more free time. You can watch Dunkirk. Jordy's gonna have the best time in the singularity. He's gonna be like, I've never seen a single movie.
I have so many movies.
And I'm gonna be
watch.
like, I need generative slop. I've seen everything. And Jordy's gonna be like,
I've just been building up an incredible backlog. Almost a 30-year backlog.
It's gonna be amazing. You have a decade worth of films to watch and enjoy and discuss. It's gonna be a fantastic post-singularity life for Jordy.